So in the last video I reviewed Sonic Adventures, Sonic's very first jump into 3D, and came out feeling very good about the game. I recommend watching that video before this one, as from this point forward I'll be directly referencing stuff from that game while talking about this one. Same can be said after this video is done. I'm talking about Heroes next, and so on and so forth. I'm really surprised with how many people ended up watching and enjoying the adventure video, but nevertheless I thank you all for supporting the channel. And sorry for the wait on this one. Anyways, it's time to talk about one of my favorite games in this series, Sonic Adventure 2. So Sonic Adventure release got good reviews, saved the Dreamcast, and in turn Sega from financial ruin, and everything was all hunky-dory for Sega. Oh wait, the Dreamcast, despite having impressive hardware and a very well-received Sonic launch title, was seen as a failure in Sega's eyes. This was due to just how much money was lost in the last couple years due to the failure to Sega Saturn, and how going into the Dreamcast, Sega inherently had a huge hole in their wallet. The Dreamcast, as good as its games were, could not pull Sega out of this financial rut. Didn't help that piracy was also apparently really easy to pull off on this thing. It got to the point where they wanted to get consoles in the consumers' hands so bad that if you signed up for their internet service, SegaNet, they would give you a $200 rebate which you could then use to just buy a Dreamcast. So, Sega was clearly struggling, which meant by extension the future of Sonic was once again uncertain. After Adventure though, there was a spin-off party game release called Sonic Shuffle, but in terms of mainline games, we're left with what was essentially the Dreamcast's swan song, Sonic Adventure 2. So it's 2001, Sonic's 10th anniversary, and he has a new game coming out in the summer on a console the owners of consider a failure. Despite Sonic Team knowing all this and watching Sega burn to the ground financially, that didn't stop them from making what I consider a very good Sonic game. As always, I'll start with the plot synopsis, which to my friends watching, if you thought Adventure 1's plot was crazy, listen to this. So Eggman is raiding a military base so he can find a secret weapon he learned about from his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik's diary. After activating it with a Chaos Emerald, the weapon is revealed to be a black hedgehog who claims to be the ultimate life form, whose real name is Shadow. Security closes in on the two of them, and Shadow takes this moment as an opportunity to show the Doctor his power, let him know he's legit. Once the threat is taken care of, they continue their prior chat, and Shadow instructs the Doctor to gather more Chaos Emeralds and then rendezvous at the central control room at this place called the Space Colony Ark. The game then cuts to Knuckles and new character Rouge the Bat during an argument over the owner of the Master Emerald. Rouge is a jewel thief, so naturally she would be attracted to a giant gem the size of the Master Emerald, but Knuckles as the Emerald's guardian is not having that. Suddenly Eggman appears and attempts to steal the Master Emerald to, I guess, give it to Shadow? I mean, we know Emerald Radars exist in this world. He could have just gone after the Emeralds individually, but hey, hypothetically if he did steal the Master Emerald, that would definitely be the better haul. Regardless, Knuckles shatters the giant rock, pissing off Rouge and causing the two of them to get into a race to get the Shattered Emerald pieces. Eggman just going, well shit, and calling it a day. Returning to his base, scratching his ass, he turns on the news to see that Shadow has robbed a bank housing one of the Chaos Emeralds and is currently on the run from the police. The news reports that Sonic did it, as for some reason the general public can't tell the difference between the two. Even though one has been saving the planet long before Shadow woke up and doesn't bother to conceal his presence, but whatever. Shadow during the chaos reflects on his past, and he can be seen fleeing with this human girl from police officers aboard the Ark. His memory is very spotty, but he can remember bits and pieces of her last words before she sent him down to Earth in a space pod.
What?
Shadow, I beg of you, please,
Maria!
do it for me. For all the people on that planet. Sayonara, Shadow, the Hedgehog.
I still remember what I promised you. For the people of this planet, I promise you. Revenge!
Due to Shadow's actions, our beloved blue hero has been incarcerated, leading to one of the most iconic scenes in the whole franchise.
Sigma Alpha 2 heading due south over the city. We're en route. Everything's a go.
This is Control Tower. We have you on radar. Report cargo status of captured Hedgehog aboard. Over.
That's a 10-4. Cargo secured on board and... What?
Didn't copy that.
Hedgehog is
Over.
gone. He's taken out everyone aboard and...
What's wrong?
What in the
Come
world?
in. Over.
Freeze! What do you think you're doing? Get that hedgehog!
Talk about low-budget flights, no food or movies. I'm out of here. I like running better.
That's fucking right. Sonic just ripped off a piece of a military helicopter to use as a board to ride down the streets of San Francisco while being pursued by the police. This game is split into two stories, Hero and Dark, sticking to the light and dark motif the game is plagued with, so when picking the Hero campaign, this is typically your first impression of the game. I've been covering the story in chronological order as it happens, but it cannot be understated how good of a first impression this game makes. All in the first few minutes too. I love that cocky smirk Sonic gives to the camera as he falls to the surface below. It's an image permanently etched in my mind for probably the rest of my life. Anyways, after running for your life from this maniac and stomping out this robot, the two hedgehogs finally meet, Shadow revealing to Sonic of new abilities never seen before.
It all starts with this. A jewel containing the ultimate power.
That's the Chaos Emerald! Now I know what's going on. The military has mistaken me for the likes of you. So, where do you think you're going with that emerald? Say something, you fake hedgehog!
Chaos Control!
Using this, Shadow's able to instantly teleport, which he uses to seemingly match Sonic's speed. Before departing, he makes sure Sonic knows his name as to leave an impression on our hero before blinding him with the light of Chaos Control. During this moment of confusion, the police surround and capture Sonic again, this time sending him to Prison Island. Shadow and Eggman meet up at the space colony, and Shadow explains that Eggman's grandfather was not just up here conducting science experiments. The Ark also has a weapons research facility and regularly created weapons of mass destruction, a planet-destroying space railgun named the Eclipse Cannon being one of them. It's long since been deactivated, but can become usable again if all 7 Chaos Emeralds act as an energy source to power it. At that point, Eggman can do whatever he wanted with the planet, as no one will be able to stop him. This is great and all, but Rouge suddenly reveals herself to the duo, overhearing everything that was said. She's clearly up to something, but she uses the information she got from their conversation to strike a deal with Eggman to allow her to borrow his Emerald radar. She knows the general area where the Chaos Emeralds may be, but she just needs the radar to help locate their exact location. This leads to the trio also visiting Prison Island, where they hatch their plan to steal the Chaos Emeralds in the vault while Shadow sets bombs that's ready to blow up the entire island. Meanwhile, Eggman goes in guns blazing as a distraction. Everyone knows their roles and sets off to enact the plan, and things go smoothly until Amy shows up, confusing Shadow for Sonic, leading to a conflict between her, Eggman, and soon Tails, who shows up to save Amy after seeing her on the island cornered by the Doctor. Tails is here because he heard of Sonic's source on TV, and obviously because they're best friends, he doesn't believe he'd do anything that he was charged with, so he's here to bust Sonic out of prison. After a scuffle between the two scientists, Tails comes out on top and takes Amy with him to save Sonic, who is then released by her, and he immediately takes off.
How'd you get here?
Well, if you gotta know, I caught a ride with Tails. Are you sure you don't need my help? It looks like you could use it.
The reason I'm in here is because of that fake hedgehog.
You mean that black hedgehog?
Did you see it? Where is it now?
If I tell ya, will you marry me?
No way!
I thought I had you this time.
On the flip side, Rouge breaks into the vault and steals Chaos Emeralds, but ends up getting locked in with the Emeralds with no escape. Over a radio, she tells her team she ran into an issue and is currently trapped. Shadow, overhearing this, debates on leaving her to die, but gets flashes of Maria in his mind, which for some odd reason makes him hot-tail to save Rouge. Interesting. On his way over to the vault, Shadow runs into Sonic, and the two drop probably the most quoted lines in the Sonic series.
Hey, that's...
That blue hedgehog again, of all places.
I found you, faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Ha! You're not even good enough
I'll make
to be
you eat
my
those
fake.
words.
The two hedgehogs have a battle that ends in a standstill, but interrupting the silence is Eggman over the radio.
Shadow, what are you doing? Hurry and get back here right now before the island blows up with you on it!
Blows up?
When I first saw this scene, it was through the perspective of Sonic, who had no idea this plan was occurring, so this bombshell drop of information was really sudden. It made the following level, Green Forest, really fucking cool to watch. Obviously, growing up, you didn't really have your own money, so you couldn't really pay for your own games unless your parents bought them for you, so people my age probably watched a lot of cutscenes from games they wanted to play. The Green Forest level was always really cool to watch, and it's even more fun to play. Ripping through this forest this fast with this music with that big ass 8-minute timer on the screen just hits every single time. The island itself starts crumbling apart due to the ensuing explosions, but thankfully Sonic manages to escape and Shadow manages to get to Rouge and save her. Aboard the Ark, Shadow reflects on his friend more, thinking of a time where he questioned his purpose in life. Both he and Maria never left the Ark at that point, so neither knew what it was like on Earth. Shadow only knows that his creator's work was dedicated to making those who dwelled on the planet happy. This flashback is interrupted by Rouge pointing out how unlike Shadow it was to rescue her. He tries to rationalize it to himself, saying he came to save the emeralds and not her, but at this point Rouge knows he's lying to himself, but can't push this conversation any further as preparation for the Eclipse Cannon demonstration has already concluded. Eggman has broadcast himself on every TV around the world, showing the power he now possesses. Despite only having 6 of the 7 emeralds, he demonstrates to the world what their fate will be if they do not submit to the Eggman Empire. Unfortunately, they still need the last emerald to unleash the full power of the cannon, and given it's Rouge's job to search for them, Eggman hounds her as to where the last emerald could be. Rouge, in a clever, interesting twist, shows the two a newspaper showing that due to Tails saving Station Square from Eggman in the last game, the city rewarded him with a Chaos Emerald. A really cool lore moment tying these games together. The team then agrees to search for Tails, but after everyone leaves the room, Rouge reports into her employer, revealing that she's actually a spy for the government sent to dig up details on Project Shadow and learning more about Shadow himself. Flipping back over to the hero side, Sonic believes all the energy from the cannon must be from the Chaos Emerald, so Tails brings up the idea to track them using his Chaos Emerald. After all, the emeralds are like magnets and attract each other, meaning they can trace where Eggman is. This plan leads to Tails believing that Eggman took the emeralds to space, as he couldn't find their signal anywhere on Earth. However, he did find transmission frequencies of a call between Eggman and the President. So Tails takes a tornado on the highway and hauls ass after the President's limousine, and him and Sonic bust in, interrupting Eggman's demands to surrender the country. The two find out Eggman's transmitting from the Ark and make a plan to get there. Knuckles before this joins the team, although all he's been doing in the background is putting the Master Armor back together, hence why I haven't mentioned him much until now. So sometime between this, Shadow is tracking Tails but doesn't catch up to him. The gang, all on Tails' tornado I'm guessing, fly towards his base as Knuckles claims he saw Eggman and Rouge go in, so they assume there must be a way to get to space from there. The team does a 4, but mostly 3-man break-in where Tails finds the entrance, Sonic customs the defenses, and Knuckles finds the keys to open the last door. In it, they find Eggman, who remote controls his golem to try and kill the game, but after Sonic thrashes him, the team get into a rocket and launch straight into the 3rd act of the story.
4, 3, 2, 1. Shuttle liftoff.
So this is the space colony where Eggman is hiding. What the?
Is everyone alright? We should be landing soon.
The hatch doors are open. Don't sweat it, Knuckles. The only thing in the cargo bay are those
What do you
Master
mean,
Emeralds.
don't sweat it?
Right?
Land the
Knock
shuttle
it
and
off,
let me
Knuckles.
out.
We're gonna crash this thing if you keep that up. Oh no! Don't touch that lever!
The gang bury land with their lives and come up with a plan using the fake emerald Tails created. This emerald has the same wavelengths and properties of real emerald, but isn't nearly as powerful. The goal here is to destroy the cannon from the inside using this emerald, as a chain reaction should ensue, blowing the whole thing up when it's mistakenly used as a power source. But first, Tails needs to destroy the power supply and Sonic needs to find the control room. Oh, and Amy's here too. Noticing a lack of independence she declares she get from the last game. On the flip side, Rouge and Knuckles are fighting over the Master Armor pieces again, leading to a charming scene where Knuckles shows compassion for Rouge and not letting her fall to her death. Although she has wings and can fly, so I don't know, maybe she was the one who wanted to hold Knuckles' hand. Either way, Knuckles apologizes if he ended up hurting her and completes the Master Armor and takes off. Sonic manages to reach the control room and gets an emergency call from Tails informing him that Amy is being held hostage. Sonic rushes over to save his friend, leading to a confrontation between Sonic and Eggman. During it, he calmly asks Sonic to hand his emerald over and Amy will be safe, so Sonic seizes as a chance to kill two birds with one stone, hand Eggman the fake emerald as planned, and get Amy back. A really easy win.
You've turned into a big-time villain, Doctor.
Whoa! You thought you could trick me with that fake emerald, didn't you?
So, how did you know it wasn't the real one?
Tails!
Because you just told me, Fox Boy.
Except, in a twist of events, Eggman traps Sonic in a tube and gets Tails over from the emerald is fake, and in the dark story, you see in the cutscene that he knew the emerald was fake the whole time. Meaning he did this whole charade just to fuck with the team. That's honestly something I love about this era of Eggman. He always seems to be 1 or 5 steps ahead in his plans, and it's great to watch it unfold. Sonic says his last goodbyes to his friends before he's ejected into space and his capsule explodes, surely killing the Hedgehog. Eggman promises if Tails gives him the real emerald, he'll release both him and Amy, but Tails sticks to his guns and says nah. Sonic asks him to do something for him, so he's gonna stick to the mission and see it through, in which he defeats Eggman in combat. The Doctor lies on the ground defeated, and Tails is proud he managed to complete his mission. Knuckles is walking around, probably lost, when all of a sudden Sonic appears and floats to the ground fatigued. He then reveals in a last-ditch effort to save himself, he manages to do chaos control with a fake Chaos Emerald. Sonic in his last moment recalled that Tails told him that it had the same wavelengths and properties as a real Emerald, but was less powerful, and before the explosion, gave it all he got and actually managed to pull the trick off. Sonic makes a mad dash to the cannon, and on the final stretch with about 6 minutes remaining, he's confronted by his rival one last time.
You never cease to surprise me, Brew Hedgehog. I thought that capsule you were in exploded in space.
You know, what can I say? I die hard. You actually saved me, you know.
It was a Chaos Emerald, wasn't it? But there's no way you could have activated the Chaos Control using an emerald that's fake. So, there's more to you than just looking like me. What are you, anyway?
What you see is what you get. Just a guy that loves adventure. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog.
I see. But you know, I can't let you live. Your adventuring days are coming to an end.
This scene is just so perfect. The music, the atmosphere, the stakes, the characters, everything is just so entertaining and fun to watch unfold. Sonic and Shadow's final confrontation in the cutscene houses the best character interaction in the game, hands down. It's too bad the fight's kinda eh. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but this fight either takes me 2 minutes or 20 and I don't know what's up with it. But after, Sonic stops the cannon from firing, at the same time Eggman puts the last emerald inside the cannon's controls, but little did they know the wild truths that were about to be revealed.
The ultimate life form.
Chaos
Vengeance.
Space Desperation.
Supersonic.
Tears.
Untamed power of Chaos Emerald.
Professor Gerald.
The truth about 50 years ago.
Sonic Adventure 2. Last episode. Wishes are eternal.
So, earlier, Tails alluded to a terrible accident that happened on the Ark 50 years ago. Rouge confronted Shadow on information she found inside the Ark's controls after Eggman gave her the password, and the Shadow in the picture she has looks a lot different than the Shadow here today, which begs the question, who is Shadow? Or rather, is he the real Shadow? Either way, despite the doubt swirling inside Shadow's head, he chooses to keep his promise to Maria above all else and makes his way to fight Sonic. But after all the emeralds are placed in the cannon, it doesn't fire. Instead, an image of Jero Robotnik shows up on the screen and violent vibrations aboard the Ark begin to break out. The heroes gather and Rouge tells everyone it's all over as the Ark has begun its path on a crash course towards the Earth, where a collision would surely destroy everyone on the planet. Videos of Jero transmit everyone on Earth where he boldly proclaims that he's taking revenge against all the humans who took everything away from him, in which after Eggman shows the heroes his grandfather's diary, they found out what that thing was. You see, Professor Jero created Shadow to help humans, but while he was off the Ark, the military landed on it and attempted to destroy the project. The Ark was then shut down to prevent the prototype from falling into the wrong hands, and the military covered it up as an accident. They killed a lot of people on the Ark that day, and one of the people in the list of names was Maria, the professor's granddaughter. Maria meant the world to Jero, and he couldn't bear the thought that his research did this, so he programmed a way to get revenge on humans by programming the Ark itself to collide with the Earth once the emeralds were placed in the Eclipse Cannon, in which he wrote, "If you want the world to suffer, awaken Shadow, and he will handle it." Gerald was then killed by firing squad after his last words. The emeralds in the cannon make the core highly explosive, but if the emerald energy were to be shut down, then we will all be saved. Thankfully, Knuckles' Master Emerald can shut down the Chaos Emerald, so now it's a race against time to shut down those emeralds before the colony hits the Earth. A joint effort involving all the heroes, including Amy, who finds a Shadow tucked away in a corner by himself. She asks him to help out, and even after he says there's no point, Amy tells Shadow that while people can be selfish, they can also be good, and people down there, they should be given the chance to do good and be happy. Amy's words recalls back the full memory Shadow has of Maria, and it's revealed she wanted Shadow to do good things and give people on Earth a chance to be happy. So to fulfill his promise to his friend, probably realizing, oh shit, I was way off the mark with that one, he rushes to the hero's side to help save the day. But on the way, the heroes encounter the Bio-Lizard, the ultimate life form prototype. This boss fight, while mechanically simple, is amazing, especially with the song Supported Me playing over it. Most of the music in Shadow's level revolve around him having a distorted or sort of glitchy filter over it to represent Shadow's headspace throughout the game, given that his past memories are really foggy. This climax is here where on top of him just now realizing his real promise, he realizes the gravity of the situation and how he's on the verge of breaking that promise if he fails here. Some lines in the song also display that Shadow is getting desperate and somewhat feels like he's walking on thin ice, trying not to lose focus on what he should be doing. It's a really catchy listen. After Shadow's battle with the Bio-Lizard, Knuckles tries to stop the emeralds, but while successful, the lizard actually attaches himself to the outside of the arc to keep it on course with the Earth. In a final moment of desperation, Sonic and Shadow team up and use the Chaos Emerald to go super to put a stop to the Bio-Lizard and save the Earth. The final boss then ensues, where you switch between Sonic and Shadow taking pot shots at the lizard to get him to let go of the arc while the main theme of the game, Live and Learn, plays in the background. It's a climactic fight where the other characters cheer you on and urge you to wrap it up quickly before you either run out of rings or the arc crashes into the Earth, which can actually happen if you take too long. This fight is epic due to the things surrounding it, elevating the encounter to a new level, even if the fight itself is pretty simple. But once you land the final hit, it's time to put a stop to all this madness.
Here I come, you creep!
I must destroy all the evil the Professor has created.
No way that's getting through!
Shadow, I beg of you,
Maria,
give them a chance to be happy.
Now, Shadow! Chaos Control!
Maria, this is what you wanted, right? This is my promise I made to you.
Shadow does not make it back to the Ark. He loses his rings and his super form and falls to the Earth's surface, presumably dying in the process, but still in the end fulfilling his promise by giving the people on Earth a second chance. The only memorabilia of him is a single ring from his wrist that Sonic managed to snatch off of him, in an implied attempt to save him. The heroes mourn over him, but choose to look on the bright side and be proud of what they've done, as they all did their part to save the Earth. As they all leave the space colony, Sonic turns and leaves his parting words to his rival turned comrade.
Sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog.
This is what Sonic plots should be. Entertaining, fun, with room for both lighthearted and more real moments like these. With good presentation and thought at how it's presented. I know that the story can be cheesy, but it adds to the charm. Obviously, it's not the most well-written story out there, but what was done here, even to me in 2023, is still so much fun to sit through. I don't care if there are humans in it or government conspiracies, things some might think don't belong in a Sonic game. But if Sonic chooses to tell stories like this, if it's well written and entertaining, then I don't care. Some just see these colorful cartoon animals and hear the hijinks that occur in these games and just think it could never work, but the truth is, a lot of the ideas in this series can work if given enough time in the light of day. I was never once bent up by Sonic trying to tell stories like this. I always thought it was cool. If they want to make art, then give them the brush and the canvas. I won't shoot their work down simply due to the colors they chose to paint with. But on to the actual video game of Sonic Adventure 2, the game is more streamlined than Adventure 1, as when picking Hero or Dark Story in the campaign, you don't move through hub worlds to get to levels. Instead, once you start a campaign, you go from stage 1 to the final stage in the respective story. Along with this, there are only 3 gameplay styles in the game, all lifted from the first game. You got your speed stages starring Sonic or Shadow, the Mech stages taken from Gamma that lives in this game through Tails and Eggman, and finally the treasure hunting that Knuckles and Rouge do for their stages. Starting with speed stages, Sonic and Shadow control the same despite one running and the other skating. The controls feel more stiff than Adventure 1. I don't know how to describe it, but when moving fast, it's a noticeable second before Sonic goes into a ball to do the returning spin dash, and Sonic and Shadow don't really have the same amount of freedom and control the characters generally had in Adventure 1. This may sound like the game should overall be worse as it is, but the thing is, SA1 and 2's levels are not designed in the same way. When making the stages in SA1, the team had to account for more than just Sonic going through them. They didn't make stages for only Sonic's controls. Now that there are dedicated speed, mech, and treasure hunting stages, the devs don't have to worry about that, so they can tailor-make every stage for the controls of each character type. So while I can say Sonic's controls isn't as good as in the first game, his and Shadow's stages are still fun to play through with the new tweaks to their movement. I think the main thing is that these characters feel like they have a lot more weight to them, which may be why I feel this way. Anyway, a gameplay addition you're going to notice in speed stages is that characters can grind on rails now. Just jumping on a rail will see your character sliding along it, but if you hit the rail with a homing attack, you'll transfer that former momentum onto the rail and go a lot faster. While on them, you can crouch to pick up speed when sliding downwards and also tilt the stick left and right to balance. From what I hear, this feature is busted and doesn't work properly, as supposedly tilting the analog stick and crouching at certain points on the rail is supposed to make you go faster, but due to shoddy porting, this feature doesn't work as intended. But the average player probably won't know anything's wrong. I know I definitely didn't when playing, as you can make it through the game just fine with the rails as is, and you're still able to pick up plenty of speed, and there are still times where you have to balance. But the rails can be a bit finicky and might cause you to have a few deaths, especially when rail switching, but you'll get used to it if you keep playing. Rail switching should just be a simple move left to right on the analog stick and tap A, but sometimes you can fling yourself off the rail if you're holding the direction for too long. I find the feature works best with simple stick flicks, but it's something of note that can happen. Other than that, they added other new things like ramps you can do tricks off of, and handbars you can grab onto to do a flip off of to a faster area. Sonic and Shadow can also do a somersault to get under structures or defeat a shielded enemy. These stages are pretty well designed with hidden item boxes housing rings or shields, plenty of shortcuts and ways to do them faster, and some hidden upgrades which are now in levels due to the absence of adventure fields. The first one you'll probably find are the light shoes, which lets you do the light speed dash from the first game, only now you only have to press a button to activate it, which is a great change, although it poses a problem I'll get into later. Anyway, Sonic's next mandatory ability is the bounce bracelet. This lets Sonic bounce up and down like a ball, getting more height with each bounce. It's pretty useful for height, but I like to use it for a sort of makeshift stomp move. Last of the required upgrades is the Flame Ring, which both Sonic and Shadow get, but it's required for Sonic. This upgrades the somersault move, allowing it to break metal boxes. It's not very useful outside of that, but you need to move on in some spots, so required. Other optional upgrades are things that everybody gets, like Magic Hands that let you put enemies into little balls, and Mystic Melody that's used to play a tune at these podiums which have different effects. Some bonus upgrades are character specific, like Sonic being able to find the ancient light in Green Forest. All of this definitely poses a problem though. How the hell do you fit all these actions on a controller? Well, they could use some of the shoulder buttons, maybe since this is on PC now with the Steam release, use the R3 and L3 button, map everything to X. Yeah, this is a problem with Sonic controls in general, but it starts here. For some reason, instead of spacing things out on the controller, the team opted to have everything on one button and have you cycle through what action you want to do with the Y button through the action window. And I mean, when it works, but in instances where the context-sensitive action doesn't and you do the bounce bracelet when instead you want to do the light speed dash, and just to add a little extra spice to the story over Boundless Pit, yeah, you start to see how they could have done things a little better. That's one thing I guess I can at least credit the newer Sonic games for fixing, but we'll get there when we get there. So yeah, that's a hurdle you have to learn to deal with in this game, but what does it matter if you die? The game is just going to total your score and move on. Rankings. Introduced in this game, rankings absolutely changed the whole way the game is played. Throughout your run through of a stage, you'll no doubt notice sometimes you'll hit a homing attack chain, land on the ground doing a cool trick, or just in general do a quick maneuver and the game will give you bonus points for it. Whether it be cool, good, extreme, or whatever else in between. These will help boost your score, and combined with the time bonus from how fast you get to the goal and the extra points gained from each ring you have by the end, and it will determine your rank for the stage. Lowest you can get is an E and the highest you can get is an A. Having a system that grades you and your performance in these levels increases the replayability of these games by a ton, if the ranking system is good at least. I think SA2's system is pretty fair, all things considered. Sometimes the A rank can feel really strict to get, but with enough practice you can do it, and when you do, it feels great. I know I just spent a lot of time going over just Sonic and Shadow's gameplay, but I just wanted to go ahead and talk about the game's overall system mechanics like the ranking system, upgrades, that span across all characters. Anyways, treasure hunting! Since its appearance in the first game, there have been a few changes to how things work this time around. For one, Knuckles and Rouge can now do this drill dive maneuver, which is awesome for going from the top of the maps to lower sections really fast, and during the dive it can actually be cancelled back into the glide. For two, the hints aren't from to call anymore, they're from these monitors. When you collect an emerald piece, you'll get a different amount of points depending on how long it took you to find it. For every minute, the score bonus you'll get goes down by 1 tier, starting at perfect. The score bonus will also go down a tier if you use a hint, which will describe or nudge you to a specific location in the level. I won't lie though, these won't mean much to you unless you played the game a lot or you've been running around the whole map looking for one shard and took note of your surroundings. And finally, number 3, you can only track one emerald piece at a time, so you must find the first one for the game to allow you to track the next one. On one hand, I understand why they did this. If you could find every piece at the same time like in SA1, then Knuckles and Rouge's stages would be very easy to get A ranks in, on top of them becoming very brief levels, which would be an issue considering adventure fields were no more. But on the other hand, the design of these stages can be a lot more complex in SA2, with some stages having rooms whose interests you have to dig into, or simply areas that are fucking massive. I'm looking at you, Meteor Herd and Mad Space, both levels being huge as fuck with emerald spawns that can be pretty far away from each other. Here, it would have been a lot better to have the radar ping all the shards at once, because more than ever you'll likely miss one and it can be really annoying. Not even the hints are on your side in these levels. You try to read one and the shit is backwards for added challenge, like what the fuck? Thankfully, you can pause the levels and read your hints, but still, these levels didn't need this, as funny as it is. I think the perfect size for a treasure hunting stage is Pumpkin Hill. It's not too big, you can see all the major areas present, and you won't get lost here. If the treasure hunting were to ever come back, I'd say make the Emerald Radar track all 3 again, but adjust the challenge accordingly for that. Don't make it too easy. Some of these treasure hunting stages like Aquatic Mines would have still been a decent length and challenge, even with the ability to track all 3 shards at the same time. The puzzle element of draining and filling the area with water to get to different areas could be a challenge still with the old radar setup. Anyways, moving on to the last gameplay style, the mech shooting, featuring Tails and Eggman. These are pretty fun, but are bogged down by the fact that the mechs just control worse than Gamma did in SA1. These machines can be clunky as hell, the rate you speed up just feels off, and in some way, every time you change the angle you're walking in, you slow down a bit, and turning around can be awkward as fuck. Shooting and blowing stuff up is the same as that game though, but the sound design and effects here look and sound way better, so it's more satisfying to play here, especially with the score bonus mechanic now in the game. Locking onto multiple targets and shooting them all out to be met with a perfect or extreme just feels so satisfying. So much so that it feels so crushing when you get hit and lose your rings or die botching your attempt at an A rank. This isn't just a mech thing though, it feels crushing to lose that A rank with any character, but it drives me to keep playing and get better. The mech levels are generally well designed. I like the first Tails stage, all the arc stages between Tails and Eggman, and even the sand levels between the two. It's good stuff once you get used to the controls. The hover upgrade also increases my enjoyment of these levels because without it, your character drops like a rock when you miss jumps, so having it makes the journey a little more comfortable. But that's my overview on the main gameplay of the characters done. Commonly I see online that a lot of people love this game while only really enjoying the Sonic and Chao levels, but me, I think I can comfortably say I enjoy every character in this game. I definitely have my grievances with a few stages from the treasure hunting and mech levels, but I enjoy myself overall throughout them. But with all that being said, it's time to look into the content outside of story mode because there are a lot of things to talk about. Future Cameron here. First things first, emblems are back, and I had previously written down that there was 120 of them, but turns out there's 180, which is 50 more than SA1's 130. Anyways, back to the script. You get one for every mission you clear, and when going back to the stage left in the main menu, you'll be greeted by a really charming huge map showing the character icons at the locations where their levels took place. When picking a level, you'll probably know that there are an additional 4 missions in each stage, and they also have their own A ranks to strive for and emblems to reward you with. The structure is all the same across every character's stages. Mission 1 is reach the goal, Mission 2 grab 100 rings, Mission 3 find the lost child, Mission 4 beat the stage with a time limit, and lastly Mission 5, which is always a hard version of the stage for the character. I never really played the extra missions for other characters that weren't for Sonic or Shadow, but genuinely, these are a nice challenge. They really make you work with what you have in terms of the controls and push you to master your movement to optimize your times, on top of rewarding you for your knowledge of each stage. The mech stages do suffer a bit though, cause like I said, turning feels awkward because it's like you're killing your speed, but even these can be fun to master. Gunning for all A ranks in the speed missions requires sometimes you just get to your goal really fast, specifically in mission 2 and 3. Mission 2 isn't too bad, quickly collect 100 rings and A rank is yours, but mission 3, finding the Chao, some of these I had trouble with because of the multiple actions on one button thing I mentioned earlier. Or in some cases, like the Chao in Pyramid Cave, several times I would do the lightspeed dash and clip through this pulley and have to restart the entire level. SA2 has relatively odd moments where I'm guessing collision just freaks out due to your speed, and I think the angle you hit things and you may clip through objects. For me, this only happened when I was trying to speedrun and get A ranks, but on a casual playthrough, this more than likely won't happen. Before I move on, I want to bring attention to this speedrunning trick I picked up where when playing as Sonic, if you rev a spin dash and speed towards a wall, just before you hit it, you can quickly jump and bounce, and all that forward momentum, for some reason transferred into vertical momentum, allowing you to go flying. It's great for skips and really satisfying to pull off. But now it's time for the segment promised in the Adventure 1 video. Fatherhood. The Chao Garden has been greatly expanded since SA1, hence why I waited until now to actually talk about it. In the first game, you will collect animals from enemies you defeated and give them to your child to watch their stats go up and eventually enter them in races where they can win prizes, usually emblems. It's fun, but there wasn't much else to it besides that. In Sonic Adventure 2, there's a lot more added to the system, making it honestly the main thing I do when I play this game. So to start, to reach the Chao Garden, you need to bust open the Chao box that has a Chao key in it. Reach the goal without dying, and you'll be teleported to the Chao world. Here, you can walk into the Chao Garden, which will already have 2 Chao eggs waiting for you. Typically, you shake them to get them to hatch, but if you're a monster, you can do this. Chaos are pretty simple creatures. They're like babies, except they're descendants of God. They don't do much, mostly walk around, make cute noises, and swim in a lake, but you can give them animals like in the first game to raise their stats, except now, if you don't like the animal parts, you can instead give them Chaos Drives, which drop from the military gun robots. Or GUN if you're a stickler. These won't raise their stats as much as animals, but they also won't make you lose any stats like animals do, and you won't get the animal parts. Red Chaos Drives raise power, yellow raises swim, purple increases fly, and green increases speed. I always loved how this isn't just a thing you'll see in the Chao races, you can physically watch your Chao grow in both games when you raise their stats. After enough green Chaos Drives, your Chao will stop crawling and learn how to walk, and when they'll swim, instead of struggling to stay afloat in the lake, they will start swimming efficiently, and they can even get themselves out of the water. These are little things, but it adds so much to the Chao raising experience. Every character can enter the Chao Garden, including Tails and Eggman, who get out of their mechs and walk on foot here, which can look really funny, but the reason this is important is because now in SA2, sticking with the light and dark motif, depending on who you use to raise your Chao, they can turn into either a hero Chao or a dark Chao. Petting, feeding, and playing with your Chao will raise its affection for whatever character raised it the most, and it will begin to take after them. Hero characters turn their Chao white with a halo, and dark characters turn their Chao dark and red with a spike ball above their head. You can also choose to keep your Chao neutral and raise them with both hero and dark characters. In my opinion, I think every person who plays in the Chao Garden should raise both a hero and dark Chao, because once the Chao evolves the first time, you'll unlock the hero and dark Chao Garden, which houses bigger space for your Chao to run around in. I would assume before any of this though, you would take your Chao to the Chao Kindergarten located on the other side of the warp room. Here, you can visit the fortune teller to name your Chao, talk to the principal who will give you raising tips, and you can leave your Chao in school and they will learn whatever lesson is currently being taught, which can be anything from playing an instrument to learning to sing. Which sounds adorable, by the way. You can also visit the doctor who will let you know how good your Chao stats are with a letter grade. Out of all of these, you'll more than likely come here a lot to name your new Chao and buy Chao eggs and items from the black market in the corner. The fuck? A Chao selling Chao eggs? The fuck? Are you selling your children? Actually, some of these eggs don't even look like they'd be yours. Where the fuck are you getting these from? You can spend the rings you collect in the levels on this stuff, and the things you can buy can entertain your Chao or feed them or allow them to breed. Yeah, you can breed 2 Chaos and have to make a Chao egg with a new Chao for you to raise. Difference here is that the birth Chao will already have stats on him based on the stats of their parents. You can use as many times as you want, mixing and matching different Chao stat combinations to give to their children, whether it be to raise 1 or 2 attributes for specific Chao races, or to keep the process going until you have multiple Chao of different types and evolutions and appearances, and then that one Chao that has all S stats that can be any race with max stamina. I spoke earlier about Chaos having Hero and Dark Alignments depending on who raised them, but that comes after their first evolution, and that's when you get the halo or the spike ball over their head. After that, they'll evolve a couple of times, but they're little smaller gradual changes, and it really depends on what kind of stats you're really raising this child to be. If a child lived a happy life, then when it dies, or reincarnates rather, in its cocoon, then it'll leave an egg behind, leaving some of its stats for you to keep on raising it. If you treated your child poorly, then it'll just straight up die. Gone forever. But if you don't like either of those outcomes, then you can do a third option, turning your child into a Chaos Chao. This requires you to give your child all 21 animals in the game, and after that, on its final evolution, it'll just turn into a Chaos Chao and live forever. You can even keep raising its stats too, so if you want to keep on working on them, then there you go. The Child Garden overall is nice and all, but I do have a couple of annoyances with it. For starters, I don't like how you can't use the same animal on multiple Chao. Once you give an animal to one, for some reason the others will not take its stats. I get that they probably did this to increase the time you spend replaying the levels, but to put this into perspective, to make a Chaos Chao, like I said earlier, you need all 21 animals in the game. So for this video, if I were to make all 3 of my main Chao into Chaos Chaos, I would have to do that 3 separate times, totaling 63 animals. Which, hey, I get not being able to reuse an animal on one Chao, but not being able to share, that's kind of annoying. Especially because it gets to a point where you have to make level runs cater to specific Chao as to level them up the fastest. Another thing is when these little buggers don't like to fucking eat. I swear, sometimes these little shits can be stubborn as hell and not eat their food. It's the only way to build their stamina, so sometimes I find myself waiting by one child with 2 fruits for when he throws one away so I can quickly give him the other one, but this process can take ages if the little guy is full and doesn't want to eat, or when they haven't eaten in a while and still throw their fruit away anyways. On the flip side, at least when leveling your child, there's a glitch you can do in the Hero Child Garden where the child will get stuck by this pillar and you can place the animal or Chaos Drive near them and the game will count it as the child absorbing it without giving it to them, meaning that you can do this over and over again for quick stat leveling. All this for some cute unlockables and more emblems, in which in this game, getting all of them unlocks Green Hill Zone, which I was gonna do for this video, but look, y'all waited long enough for this, and if I had kept going and trying to get all 180, this video would have been pushed back by another few weeks, and I'm not having that. The emblems also unlock costumes and more stages in the game's multiplayer, which sadly I did not have anyone to play this with at the moment, so I can't really show much of it. But trust me, it is fun. And lastly, like in the previous video, I want to talk about this game's OST because holy hell, it's so good. I've already spoke about Supporting Me, but this game has some other good vocal themes like Shadow's theme, Throw It All Away, Rouge is Flying to Freedom, and a new Eggman theme that is one of my favorite songs in the series. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles get remixes of their vocal themes from SA1, and honestly, I think the first game's renditions were a little better, but I still like the ones in this game. Amy's theme is the same as before, so no changes there. Once again, I'll throw together a little scissor reel of my favorite tracks in the game because man, this game has some bangers. close out the video, Sonic Adventure 2 is still one of my favorite Sonic games. It's hard for me to definitely rank these games as it changes week to week, but it's consistently up there. Revisiting Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 left me really happy. I love these games a lot more than I thought I did. I would always remember what I deemed the good parts of these games being the Sonic stuff and the story, and not really think about the other things surrounding it. But me reviewing these games and having to think about all this stuff as a whole, I'm really happy to say that the complete package of both of these titles are ones I enjoy very much. When I'm back again, I'll be looking at Sonic Heroes. Again, sorry for the wait on this one, I already made a post on my Insta about it, but life do be lifing sometimes. Anyways, I will see y'all when I see you. Peace.